cannabis is still a Schedule One drug. But I think I think the way to frame it is that you have the illicit sector that has probably 2/3 market share. They don't pay taxes. They don't have to, they don't have to worry about environmental impact of what they do. They don't have to worry about any of the regulatory issues. Certainly have, coerced or extremely, cheap labor. They don't have to pay healthcare. And so what happens when you have 2/3 of the market basically has these gigantic structural advantages over the over the legal market. If the marginal producer is the illicit sector and they're producing at a much lower cost than the legal sector, it pushes down both top line and bottom line. It squeezes, and that's definitely been happening. And you have obviously the tailwinds of new states allowing medical or allowing legal. You have the tailwinds of increased consumption kind of across the board, particularly among older people. So they're definitely large tailwinds, but I guess it's sort of the biggest problem is probably the way that the playing field, the current kind of legal environment really tilts the playing field in favor of the illicit sector.
And so, are you comfortable holding a position to allow this to be kind of rectified, for something to change, for the catalyst, or do you just trade it in and out of it now? How do you manage that? Because you've got tailwinds that are clear. There's a secular trend. Problem is, you've got these headwinds.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a terrible trade. In hindsight, it shouldn't have held the longer term positions. But it's not. I mean, it certainly was a much bigger exposure for me a couple of years ago than it is now. And it's not a theme, I think, that has to have, federal reform. Obviously, that would be great, but, demand is really inelastic. You could have simply enforcement of laws that could really decimate, or, the illegal immigration, for instance, in the United States has really fortified the sort of illicit sector. And I think, any type of crackdown on lawlessness is would be a huge boost kind of to the sector. And all the while, the companies in the sector, the ones that still exist, because many of them have failed, they find themselves in a relatively sparse landscape of legal competition. And they've had, years to sort of optimize their operations and adapt to kind of the current environment. And I now think you have, a sector that, many of the companies have shored up their balance sheets, been able to achieve growth despite the headwinds, and are kind of poised for what I think is sort of tremendous growth and probably appreciation and stock price with the right catalyst. And I don't know that it when it comes, and I can't say that I love this theme, for instance, more than Bitcoin related, but it is an industry that has, fully domestic supply chains. It is an industry that I think does a real, positive good. You have, big drops in things like, opioid abuse, even just the number of prescription drugs prescribed, in places where cannabis is legal either for medical or, adult use, recreational.
Hey there, revolutionaries. To join a community sharing insights like you just watched, head over to realvision.com. There you will get unbiased insights and exclusive access to the very best, brightest, and biggest names in finance. Be a part of our community of lifelong learners. See you there.